So how long was this kind of in the works, in the making, and what was kind of some of the background in getting this together?
Well, obviously, it's been in the making for a while, and prior to my arrival, and rightly so. I think once the reality was that Oklahoma and Texas were coming, into the SEC, you start thinking about the opportunity to renew the rivalry, and how do you sort of move the rivalry forward, kind of what you heard today, but also be respectful of the past. And so relative to this sponsorship, that's been a little bit more recent. Both schools currently are Learfield schools, so that helps, right? And so you're thinking about, and Cotton Holdings has been a corporate sponsor of A&M for some time. And so we started thinking about, how can we advance this? How can we really try to grow the rivalry and make it as special as it can be? And so just grateful for Pete and his team to step up in a really big way. And it's a 3-year commitment with mutual agreements, potential to extend it even further. So, we want some stability and some continuity in the Showdown. And so I think that'll be really important.
In the world of NIL, how much more important is choosing a sponsor and finding a partnership that maybe can help the athletes as well and go beyond just this game?
There's all of that new nuance, right? As we make decisions, as we run our business, as we think about how we can best position our programs. And Texas is no different than us, right? I tell everybody all the time, we're in the competition business, and at times that can be uncomfortable. But that's how we get defined in our business. And so you're always going to be looking for ways that you can help advance, your football program. Obviously really important. It's your primary revenue generator. But, these are the types of things that I think can really enhance and advance your brand. Obviously in the state of Texas, this game is really, really important to a lot of people. Divides a lot of people. But this is what makes college athletics college athletics. I'm telling you, I played in a lot of football games. The rivalry games hit different. They just do. And it's a privilege and an honor to get to play in rivalry games like this. And I said it, and I believe this. Give us a little time. Texas A&M will be the best rivalry football game in college football. It has that opportunity. It has that passion. And we're looking forward to it.
Trev, what does this sponsorship entail?
Well, there's a lot of details around it, and at some point, Olin, we'll be able to sort of release a few more of the details. We have some of the basic general parameters of it all laid out, but I'd rather not at this point lay out exactly what it all details. Obviously, there's a monetary component to it. There's inventory that Cotton Holdings has access to that's advanced from where we currently are. But there's actually some additional details we're still working on. So we'll keep working on that.
You talked about playing in a rivalry game between Oklahoma and Nebraska, and what a respectful rivalry game it is. Do you get a sense that this is a respectful rivalry game, maybe at the athletic director level, but beyond, below that level?
I don't get to define that, right, as athletic director. I mean, at the end of the day, I just spent 3 days in Asheville with Chris and the rest of the ADs in the SEC, right? So there's a working relationship with all the ADs as we're sorting through all the challenges in college athletics, recognizing, that perhaps down the line there's some hard feelings, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I think I read about one SEC rivalry, good old-fashioned hate, Again, these are the things that college athletics, and particularly the SEC, are really rooted in, and I think you embrace it. That's great. That's what drives the energy, the passion. What's the alternative? I'd much rather have this, Olin, than the alternative. So you have motivated people who care deeply about their institution, and that's okay. It helps drive your passion, your focus, your energy. It's a marker in the sand, if you will, and it creates accountability. I'm okay with that.
They mentioned the first matchup is the volleyball game. Does this sponsorship entail all sports or just the football game?
It entails all sports, and so there will be. My understanding is there's going to be we're going to keep track of all the sports and, come up with a cup, if you will, a competition, throughout the course of the year that entails all of our sports. And so, obviously the focus is on the football game because of the history and tradition, but, this will be a rivalry that I think can enhance past football and will be important to all of our programs and student athletes.
So I would assume it doesn't include then, like, equestrian. Texas doesn't have equestrian, right?
Well, yeah. There's certain sports. It's almost like the Director's Cup if you think about it.
Whatever you both play.
Whatever you're both playing in. There's there will be a heightened awareness anytime Texas A&M goes into Austin to play in any sport and vice versa. That's only natural. And again, I choose to embrace these things. I think they're awesome. I was a student athlete. I got to experience the energy. I got to experience the passion. And it feels good. I like it. I'll never forget. I mean, I played so long ago that they didn't have permanent lights. And all of a sudden, when you're playing a rivalry and you watch Musco bringing in these lights, I'm like, wow, this must be a big deal. And it was a big deal. There's a different level of investment. There's a different level of interest. And the student athletes really benefit from this. It's really good.
Yeah, in the few months you've been here, what kind of impression, for lack of a better word, that you've been able to glean about how your constituents feel about this, not necessarily rivalry, but the rival?
How new constituents? Oh, in the SEC?
No, your Texas A&M fans, the kind of
I get a lot of feedback from fans from time to time on a lot of topics, as you know. But I think most of all the fans are excited. I think that we're playing Texas. I mean, it's only natural. I would also say I think there's quite a few fans that aren't particularly don't particularly love the other side, which is fine. That's part of what a rivalry is. That's okay. And I suppose the feelings are mutual on the other side. So our job is to, there'll be a lot of noise when you go into these types of games. I mean, Coach Osborne would talk to us about it all the time. We can get caught up in the noise and the energy. At the end of the day, what happens on the field is really important. So you need to invest your energy, time, and create a program of substance that can handle all the noise that's surrounding it. So, but we'll be fine.
From the outside, what's the perception of this rivalry as somebody who didn't grow up in Texas and stuff? What were your thoughts of it?
From the outside, growing up, even when I played, I mean, Texas A&M, it was obviously a very important rivalry. It was a big game, and I too, like others, when this game ceased to happen, it was really sad. It's not what college athletics was built on. College football in general, it's regional rivalries that drive fan bases and the energy around the donors, and so. I think there is a real excitement, I know, at least on our team and our athletic department. Maybe some fans lament it, right? But I think given some time and to grow it in the right way, I think it's going to be awesome for both programs.
In this revenue sharing world that's approaching, how important was it to get a sponsorship on this game? And we're always talking about new revenue streams.
I think it's critically important. Look, I mean, that's the other thing that you have to put in context, right? So we're all viewing this game through the lens of the previous rivalry. Now, we haven't had it for 12 years. Think of where college football has changed in those 12 years. And so the reality now in terms of strength of brand, growing your revenue, looking for new creative ways, you're going to need to do more of this kind of stuff rather than less, right? Like this is, you're going to have to embrace these types of things, not run from them, and then be successful within them. Quite frankly.
Is there a certain trophy that you guys have discussed maybe as being a part of this rivalry?
There has been some discussions about those types of things. I don't have specifics on the details of that. Those are some of the details, as I mentioned earlier, that still need to be worked out as we kind of work through it, but that'd be kind of fun. I just got a trophy the other day from NACTA that was detailed our 6th place finish in the Director's Cup, and so people are proud of that and work towards that. So we'll see where that goes.
CDC kind of joked that this game could move to a neutral site. Was there ever any serious consideration for that?
No, we were joking on the plane together because he also received quite a few phone calls from his constituents, stakeholders, saying, "You're not announcing we're moving this game to a neutral site, are you?" I mean, again, that would be really counterproductive to a rivalry. I mean, what makes it special is when you get to host it on your field in your town. And so, like I said, we would go to Norman, Oklahoma and play in that game. And when it was back in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, it was different. So these are the types of games they need to be played on college campuses. That's part of what makes the rivalry special.
Will this game be played every year? I know that hasn't been determined yet.
It hasn't been determined, Brent, but I will tell you, and I don't want to speak for Chris, but I want it to play every year. I think it's important. I think it's something that's needs to be part. I think it's important to Texas. I think it's important to Texas high school football. All of it needs to be played every year. Now there's some nuance to that. How many conference games are we going to play in the SEC? How does it impact the college football playoff? When you start getting into different scheduling models, many of us, quote, have more than one traditional rival. And what you don't want to do is get into a point where you're asking Texas to say, well, who do you want your rival to be, Oklahoma or Texas A&M? I mean, so I'm hopeful we can get there, but I want this game played every year.
Last question. Fisher said you might like to see the game played on Friday night moving forward. Obviously, it's on a Saturday this year. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any preference at this point?
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of those considerations. What I'm most in favor of is looking at what window do we own the best, and particularly in prime time. So part of the challenge is when this game got announced and the date got set, you know, at Texas A&M, we have a lot of pride and traditions around games, and so there was a lot of work that was done surrounding the game that would have been really hard to unwind. But I would not be surprised in the future that the game moves to Friday night. Obviously, we work with our television partners, but I'm most interested in driving the Texas A&M brand, and the best place. Remember now, the NFL has gotten more involved in different windows. We want this to be the premier prime time window, and whatever's best is good for us. It needs to be on Thanksgiving Day weekend, though.